Ever felt like someone else was pulling your strings, not a boss, not a bully, but your own emotions? The insult that ruined your day, the failure that crushed your confidence. What if the real enemy isn't out there but inside? What if I told you that every angry outburst, every anxious spiral, every emotional storm, you allowed it? And worse, you handed over the remote control. You think you're in charge. But every time your mood shifts because of someone's words or a random setback, guess what? You're not the one steering your life anymore. But you can take it back. Have you ever stopped to consider just how much power you've quietly surrendered to some algorithm, not to fate, but to your own unchecked reactions? One comment sparks your anger. One plan fails, and suddenly you're drowning in frustration. One harsh judgment or minor rejection, and you're spiraling into negativity. Not because the world is cruel, but because you let it in. You believe you're steering your life, but more often than not, it's your emotions gripping the wheel. And the moment you let the outside world dictate your internal state, you're no longer the master of your mind, you're a puppet to circumstance. But what if you could pause? What if, in the middle of chaos, you could stay calm? What if you could train yourself to be unmoved by insults, untouched by disappointment, unshaken by the storms around you? If you could stop reacting on impulse, you wouldn't just gain emotional control, you'd reclaim your entire life. This is Stoicism. It's not some ancient dusty philosophy. It's a timeless weaponer mindset that helped warriors, emperors, and thinkers survive the worst of life with grace. And today, you'll learn how to use it. So if you're tired of being manipulated by people, moods, and moments, and you're ready to start mastering yourself, keep watching. Because what you're about to learn could change how you navigate. Life forever. Rule number 1. Master control. Let go of what you can't change. Imagine this. You get an email from your boss. It's filled with criticism, some of it unfair, maybe even harsh. Your pride is bruised. Your emotions flare. Your fingers hover over the keyboard, ready to shoot back a fiery response. But just before you hit send, a thought enters your mind. Will this reaction actually help me, or will it just give away more of my power? That question is the beginning of control. Stoicism doesn't ask you to feel nothing. It asks you to see clearly, to recognize a truth that most people ignore. There are only two kinds of things in life: what you can control and what you can't. You can't control someone's tone. You can't control whether the world treats you fairly, but you can control how you respond. If you fire back with anger, who's really in control? Not you. Your emotions are running the show, but if you take a breath, pause, and ask what truly matters right now, you gain something most people never find. Real power isn't in changing what happens. It's in choosing your reaction. The less you react, the more control you reclaim. It sounds simple, maybe even strange, but ask yourself, when you let your emotions decide your actions, who's in charge? If someone insults you and you lash out, they're steering your emotions. If a setback triggers panic, the event, not you, owns your mind. But when you pause, when you reflect instead of react, you take back the reins. Like a calm rider taming a wild horse, yes, your emotions may be strong, but you decide where to go. Let me tell you about Marka, marathon runner. He trained for months, preparing his body and mind for one big race. On race day, the skies opened up. Rain flooded the track. 5 kilometers in here twisted his ankle. Pain shot up his leg. His dream shattered in an instant. Now he had a choice. He could curse the weather, rage at the bad luck, drown in disappointment, or he could accept it. Mark couldn't stop the rain. He couldn't undo the injury, but he could choose how to face it, and so he did. He walked off the track with a quiet thought, "I'll come back stronger." Someone else might have been bitter for weeks, but Mark chose resilience. He chose clarity. He chose to control what was his mindset, his response, and his future. As Epictetus once said, "You become what you give your attention to." So the question is, what are you giving your attention to? The chaos around you, or the calm within? If you don't decide what thoughts and images fill your mind, someone else will. Let that sink in. Every day you're surrounded by opinions, drama, distractions, things that scream for your attention. And if you're not careful, they'll shape you, not by force, but by default. Think about it. When you constantly fixate on things outside your control, what others think of you, unexpected setbacks, unfair situations, you slowly become a reflection of the chaos around you. Your mind becomes reactive, not intentional. You don't live, you respond to everything. But here's the shift. When you turn your focus inward, toward what you can control, you begin to reclaim ownership of your life. Letting go isn't weakness. It's not surrender. A soldier doesn't choose when a war begins, but he chooses how he fights. A business leader can't command the economy, but she can adapt her strategy with clarity. A parent cannot dictate every choice their child makes, but they can guide with strength, lead by example, and support with love. True control doesn't come from clinging to everything with white knuckles. It comes from knowing what to release, so you can hold firm to what actually matters. Take the story of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. When he was arrested, his disciples panicked. One of them even drew a sword to fight. But Jesus, he didn't react with fear or rage. He stayed composed. He said, "Do you think I cannot call on my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels?" He had power, real, divine power, to fight back, to destroy. But he chose restraint, and that one choice changed the course of history. Now, look at your own life. How many times have you been emotionally consumed by things far beyond your control? How often do you let people's opinions, bad news, or inconvenient events rob you of your peace? If this pattern continues, you're not living freely, walking around in invisible chains. But the moment you learn to let go, you set yourself free. So what can you actually do? Start small. Begin by watching yourself. The next time you feel that familiar urge to snap, to yell, to act on impulse, pause, breathe. Ask yourself a simple question. Is this worth my peace? If the answer is no, then let it go. Then redirect your energy. Don't waste your mental bandwidth trying to control the uncontrollable. Instead, pour that energy into the one thing you can always change: yourself. But remember, this is only the beginning. Mastering control over your impulses is the first gate. What lies ahead is even more critical. Learning the difference between reacting and responding. And that brings us to the next lesson. Number 2, react or respond. The choice that defines you. Have you ever been pushed to your edge, so provoked that your body tensed up and you felt like you were about to explode? Maybe it was a coworker's careless comment, a family member's cutting remark, or a stranger brushing past you in a crowded place without so much as a glance, let alone an apology. Suddenly, your chest tightens, your fists clench, your heart beats faster. Your mind fills with one burning thought. say something, do something. If you follow that impulse, you might shout, argue, insult, maybe even throw a punch. But what happens after? How long does that moment of satisfaction last? A minute, an hour, and what's left behind? Regret, shame, maybe even consequences that ripple for days, losing trust, ruining a relationship, damaging your reputation, or worse, losing your own self-respect. That's the nature of a reaction. It's immediate, intense, uncontrolled. It doesn't come from wisdom, it comes from survival, from the old, primal part of your brain wired to fight or flee. But here's the thing, today's battles aren't fought with swords in open fields. They happen in emails, boardrooms, group chats, and dinner tables. And the real danger, not that a wrong move will take your life, but that it might take something more valuable, your dignity, your peace, your future. So, if reacting leads to regret, what's the alternative? Not in weakness, not in silence, but with intention. We'll explore that step by step in the next part. Previously, we talked about how people who react impulsively often lose control of themselves, their lives. Now, let's go deeper. The difference between reacting and responding is subtle, but it changes everything. It determines whether you control your life or whether life controls you. Think of someone who reacts as a small boat tossed by a violent storm, completely at the mercy of the waves. Meanwhile, someone who responds is the captain of their ship, firm, intentional, and steady. Even in rough waters, to respond doesn't mean you suppress your emotions or avoid confrontation. It means you choose how to engage without losing your center. Imagine you're an emergency doctor. A patient is rushed in, bleeding heavily. Do you panic, yell, let your emotions take over? Or do you stay calm, assess the situation, and act with intention to save their life? Reacting out of fear can cost someone their life. Responding with clarity and composure can save it. That same principle applies to daily life. When someone insults you, your instinct might be to snap back. But a wise response is to pause and ask, is this worth my energy? Is this a fight I need to pick, or can I let it go to protect my peace? Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Life will throw pain your way. People will say cruel things. Situations will test your patience. But none of that defines who you are. What defines you is your response. A criticism can feel like an attack or like a lesson. It all depends on how you see it. So, how do you stop reacting and start responding? First, don't trust your initial emotional impulse. It's like a drunk man shouting in your head, loud, irrational, and not worthy of your attention. When anger flares up, pause. Take a deep breath, step back, ask yourself, do I need to say something? Now, will this matter in an hour, a day, a year? That single moment of pause is often the line between chaos and control. Another powerful technique, change the questions you ask yourself. Most people, when hit with a setback, ask, why is this happening to me? But a Stoic asks, what can I do with this? The first question makes you a victim. The second makes you powerful. Want to know who the strongest people are? Not the ones who yell the loudest, not the ones who threaten or slam their fists, but the ones who stay calm when everyone else is panicking, the ones who make clear decisions in chaos. How do they do that? Not because they don't feel emotions, but because they don't let emotions make decisions for them. The Bible says, fools give full vent to their rage. but the wise bring calm in the end. If you've ever regretted something said in anger, then you already understand that wisdom. Now imagine a day where your emotions don't rule you, where getting cut off in traffic doesn't make your blood boil, where criticism doesn't ruin your day, where setbacks don't drain your energy. How much more could you get done? How much time would you save if you weren't constantly pulled into pointless battles? Control isn't about changing other people. It's about mastering your own response. So, next time someone pushes your buttons, don't react. Step back, observe. Recognize that you have a choice. When you choose to respond instead of react, you'll realize control was never out there, it was always within. Have you ever made a split-second decision you regretted? If you had a chance to go back and do it differently, how might things have changed? Leave a comment, because sometimes one small shift in how we respond today can shape a better tomorrow. And if you want to keep learning how to take back control of your life with Stoicism, don't forget to subscribe. You're stronger than you think. It all starts with the next right choice. Sometimes life collapses without warning. One moment you're fine, and the next the business fails. Someone you love walks away, or the doctor delivers a devastating diagnosis. And in those moments, reacting on impulse only adds fuel to the fire. But here's what many people don't realize: calm isn't a reaction, it's a decision. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." In every crisis, the event itself is rarely what destroys us. It's how we perceive it. Picture this: a fire breaks out in a crowded room. Some run in panic, screaming and stumbling over each other. But one person pauses, steadies their breath, and scans the room for the nearest exit. Which one survives? Psychologists call this skill reframing, the ability to shift your perspective in the middle of chaos. When we face hardship, our instinct is often to spiral, to imagine the worst case scenario. But what if you could pause and choose a different lens? Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, discovered this profound truth. Those who endured the horrors of the concentration camps weren't always the strongest physically. They were the ones who found meaning in their suffering. When everything else is stripped away, there remains one thing no one can touch: your choice in how to respond. Even something as devastating as losing your job can be reframed. To many, it feels like the end, but for others, it's the wake-up call they needed. A chance to leave a soul-crushing routine. An opening to pivot, to pursue something more aligned, more alive. This isn't naive optimism. This is active reframing. It's the courage to tell a better story and take action rather than collapse under fear. But make no mistake, staying calm isn't just a mindset, it's a survival skill. In a crisis, your nervous system lights up the fight or flight response. Your heart races, palms sweat, breath shortens. In ancient times, this helped our ancestors escape predators. But today, that same response often sabotages us. If you panic during a job interview, you miss your shot. If you freeze in an emergency, lives can be lost. So how do you train yourself to stay grounded when the storm hits? One of the most effective techniques is called box breathing, used by Navy SEALs to remain sharp under extreme pressure. The method is simple. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Hold again for 4. 4. Repeat. This technique isn't just calming, It's scientifically proven to lower cortisol, your stress hormone, and shift your brain from survival mode to clear-headed logic. Still, breathing alone won't save you. True composure comes from a prepared mind. People who fall apart in crisis are often those who have never trained their minds through hardship. Soldiers aren't born brave. They become brave through endless exposure to difficulty, until their actions flow despite fear. A person who knows how to swim doesn't panic when thrown into deep water. And someone who's been through fire doesn't flinch when the heat rises again. One powerful way to build this mental toughness is by seeking discomfort on purpose. Because if you always live in comfort, the smallest inconvenience will rattle you. But when you rise early to train, work through harsh conditions, or intentionally step into what makes you nervous, you're building something deeper. You're preparing yourself to stay calm when the real test comes. Even scripture echoes this wisdom. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. Don't fear hardship. Train for it. Those who insult others the most are often the ones hurting the deepest inside. Think about it. People who constantly lash out, trying to get under your skin, usually lack control over their own emotions. They don't speak from confidence, they speak from fear, from wounds they haven't healed. They're like wild animals, snarling and attacking, not because they're strong, but because they feel threatened. And when you react to them, you're not standing your ground. You're stepping into their chaos. You see, choosing silence in these moments is not weakness, it's power, it's wisdom. When you refuse to take the bait, you rise above them. You don't lose the fight, you refuse to even enter it. And that's a victory most people never see coming. We've been conditioned to believe that if someone insults us, we must clap back, prove ourselves. But stop and ask yourself, what exactly are you defending? Your ego, your image? If someone's words can shake your sense of worth, was it ever that strong to begin with? A Stoic doesn't hand over that kind of power to others. They know words only wound you if you let them. It's like someone throws a burning coal at you. You can catch it and get burned, or you can let it drop to the ground and keep walking. Let me share something that stayed with me for years. One of my university professors, a true Stoic at heart, once walked through a busy street when a stranger suddenly started yelling insults at him. Everyone turned to watch, but instead of reacting or even flinching, my professor simply smiled and kept walking. Completely unfazed, the man yelling stood there confused, his attempt to provoke falling flat. While he fumed, my professor walked away in peace. That day, I learned something deeper than any lecture. True strength isn't loud, it's composed. It doesn't need to fight every battle, it chooses which ones even matter in real life. Here's how you apply this. The next time someone offends you, pause, take a breath. That short silence gives you the space to think, is this really worth my peace? More often than not, the answer is a quiet no. And here's another trick, forget the insult. Think about all the times you were angry over something someone said. How many of those still matter today? A week later, a year later, exactly. Most things fade. So why let them ruin your present moment? Try seeing insults as leaves floating on water. You can let them drift, or you can grab one, hold it, and let it soak you in unnecessary pain. It's always your choice. But let's be clear, choosing silence doesn't mean becoming a doormat. If someone keeps crossing the line at work, in a relationship, anywhere, you don't have to stay quiet forever. You just respond differently. You look them in the eye and say calmly, "I don't care for this." Or maybe you just give a silent, indifferent look. That alone is often enough to make them realize they hold no power here. As Epictetus wisely said, it's not the events that disturb us, but our judgment about them. That's the Stoic winner: control over outer chaos. Let's continue. From where we left off, mastering your reaction is the key to mastering your reality. We've just learned that the power lies not in the insult itself, but in the meaning we give it. Now, let's go deeper. It's not the insult that truly hurts us. It's the weight we assign to it. Words, in their raw form, are just vibrations in the air until we give them meaning. The Bible reflects this ancient wisdom. Do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you yourself will be just like him. Because when you argue with a fool, you don't when you descend. You let them set the rules. But if you don't engage at all, you rise above the chaos. You hold the power. By now, you've made it halfway through this journey, which means you're not just watching. You're evolving. You're unlearning the emotional traps you've been conditioned to fall into. We're breaking the invisible chains, one by one. And in the next part, we'll go even deeper. So don't stop here. The strongest insights are still ahead. If this has resonated with you so far, give this video a like so others like you can find it too. Rule 5. Step back to take control. The power of pause. Picture this. You're holding a full glass of water. Someone accidentally bumps into you, and the water spills all over your shirt. You're irritated, but pause and ask yourself, why did the water spill? Simple. The glass was already full. It's the same with your mind. If it's filled to the brim with stress, anger, or anxiety, the slightest disturbance, a comment, a look, a dilly can make you overflow. But if your glass isn't full, if you've left space for calm, then no matter who or what bumps into you, nothing spills out. This is the power of stepping back. When we pause before reacting, we create space for clarity, not chaos. But why is that so hard? Because reacting is instinctive. Our brains are wired for survival. A sudden sound, a sharp word, a threatened, we lash out, like an animal in danger. But most of what we face today aren't lions or fires. They're comments, emails, expectations, and that instant reaction. It often makes things worse. The ancient Greeks had a beautiful word, ataraxia, calm so deep it cannot be shaken. Not numbness, not passivity, a conscious calm. Imagine standing on a tall bridge, looking down at a wild river. If you're right at the edge, one strong gust could pull you in. But if you take a step back, you're safe. You can observe, breathe, and think clearly. That's what pausing gives you. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise. You're choosing clarity over chaos. When someone offends you, you could react right away, lash out, prove your point, match their energy. Or you could stop and ask, is this really worth my peace? Will I still care about this tomorrow? Most of the time, the answer is no. So how do we practice that pause? Try the 5-second rule. When you feel that heat rising, frustration, fear, or anger, pause, take a breath. Count to 5 before speaking or acting. It might sound small, but it can change your life. Top athletes, negotiators, and even soldiers use this simple principle. Never react too quickly. That pause gives them the upper hand. And it's not just emotional, Sometimes you need to step back physically too. If you're overwhelmed, stand up. Step outside. Take a walk when a conversation gets too intense. A small shift in space can reset your mind. The Bible echoes this again. A fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back. It's not only about holding back anger, even when joy overflows, when you're celebrating, excited, or overwhelmed in a good way, stepping back helps. You stay grounded, because real power isn't in exploding with emotion, it's in staying calm when the world expects you to lose it. Not everyone can stay grounded when emotions run high. Some people, when praised too easily, let arrogance take over. Others, blinded by love, ignore red flags that should be impossible to miss. Why does this happen? Because they've never learned how to pause, to take a breath, and step back. That 1 second of restraint isn't just about controlling what's around you. It's about mastering what's inside you. If you can stay composed during a minor argument, a slip-up, or an insulting remark, those everyday stress tests, then you're building muscle for the moments that truly challenge your character. And that's where true strength is forged. Lesson 6. Endure with purpose. Find strength through suffering. Endurance isn't weakness. It's one of the most refined forms of strength there is. Anyone can react. Anyone can lash out when insulted, explode when things don't go their way. But very few can remain steady and moved in the middle of chaos. Few can choose not to react and instead remain in control of themselves. So let's be clear, if you want real power over your life, it starts by mastering how you respond to the world around you. Think back. When was the last time someone disrespected you, gossiped behind your back, treated you unfairly? How did that feel? Infuriating. Did you immediately want to fight back? Your brain probably began writing sharp replies, dreaming of the perfect comeback. But then what? When the heat faded, all that remained was regret, maybe even shame. You didn't win anything. You gave your power away. You let someone else steer your emotions. That's not strength. That's surrender. The Stoics understood this deeply. Self-control isn't about suppressing emotion or becoming numb. It's about having the ability to feel discomfort and still choose your response. Like a soldier standing tall under a commander's scream, or a fighter taking a hit and staying focused. That kind of discipline is trained, not born. They don't stay calm because they're cold. They stay calm because they've mastered themselves. Take Cato, the Stoic philosopher known for his unshakable resolve. He used to wear simple clothes and walk barefoot through the streets purposed to train his indifference to mockery. People laughed at him, ridiculed him, but he never responded, not because he didn't hear them, but because he refused to give away his power. If he had gotten angry, he would have lost not to them, but to himself. Why does this matter? Because life is a tested daily psychological challenge. You'll meet disrespect, impatience, unfairness, and emotional chaos. If you don't train yourself to endure, you'll burn out fighting meaningless battles. You'll waste energy on things that don't matter, and have nothing left when the real challenges come. C.S. Lewis once said, "Courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point." In other words, your strength isn't defined by what you say you believe, but by how firmly you hold on to it when it's hardest to do so. If you want to be grounded, you must learn to stand tall when the world tries to knock you over. If you want inner peace, you must resist the urge to fight every noise around you. If you want control over your life, you must train your endurance You can walk through storms without breaking. So the question now is, how do you start building that kind of strength? Let's continue from before. Mastering your emotions begins with small, intentional moments of stillness. So here's your practice. Start small. The next time someone cuts in line. The next time someone unfairly criticizes you. The next time someone tries to provoke a reaction. Pause, just for a moment. Ask yourself, does this truly matter? Is it worth disturbing my peace? 9 times out of 10, the answer will be no. And if you can stay calm even once you've already laid the first brick in building your emotional fortress. Here's the paradox. The more you quietly endure, the stronger you become. People who react impulsively think they're showing strength, but in truth, they're exposing their biggest weakness, a lack of control. True power belongs to the one who remains calm in chaos, who stands steady while others stumble, like a rock in the ocean, letting waves crash over it, unmoved. So the real question is, do you want to be that rock, unshaken by the tides of life? Will you command your emotions, or let the little things command you? If you're truly ready to develop inner strength, comment below, steady as a rock, and mark the beginning of your journey. Rule 7. Go with the flow. Embrace what comes. There's a paradox most people never realize. The more we try to control everything, the more out of control we feel. Picture someone trapped in quicksand. The more they thrash and resist, the deeper they sink. But if they stop fighting and stay still, they rise. The same is true with life's adversity. When we panic in the face of problems, when we try to control the uncontrollable, we only sink deeper into anxiety. But when we learn to accept, not give up, but truly accept, we begin to rise above it. This is the Stoic principle of amor fati, the love of fate. Not just accepting what happens, but embracing it fully, even when it hurts. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." The fire doesn't complain, it just burns brighter. Likewise, Stoics don't curse their hardships, they use them as fuel. That's why Stoics practice what's called selective indifference, not apathy, but wisdom. They choose what truly deserves their energy. Someone cuts in front of you in traffic. Not worth it. A stranger insults you online. Let it go. A plan falls apart. Adapt. Move forward, as the Bible puts it. Which of you by worrying can add a single hour to his life? Worry, anger, obsession. They're like carrying a heavy stone all day. No one's making us carry it, but we cling to it as if it will somehow fix things. So how do we live amor fati in daily life? First, accept this truth. You can't control the world. You can't control what others think. You can't control tomorrow, but you can always control how you respond. When someone disrespects you, pause. Ask, does this truly matter? When something fails, ask, what can I learn from this? When the unexpected arrives, ask, how can this make me stronger? One powerful exercise is negative visualization. Imagine losing everything you care about, loved ones, health, job. Not to become bitter, but to prepare. Because when your mind has already faced the worst, it no longer fears it. The person who is ready for anything is the one who never breaks, no matter what comes. Some may ask, if I accept everything, won't I become passive? Not at all. Acceptance is not surrender. It is the starting point of power. And once you accept what you cannot change, You begin to unlock a new kind of power, meaningful action, instead of emotional reaction. Silence doesn't mean surrender. It means you stop wasting your energy on what's beyond your control. You stop being pulled into emotional storms, and instead channel your strength into what truly matters. Picture a real fighter. He can't predict every move his opponent makes, but he can control every strike, every step, every breath he takes. That's the art, not in mastering others, but in mastering yourself. This world can be ruthless. Life isn't always fair, but you always have a choice. Let the world control you, or take control of yourself. Stoics choose the latter. They don't argue with reality. They don't resist what's already happened. They accept it, embrace it, and turn it into strength. And here's the real question. Can you do the same? Can you look back at the darkest moments of your life and say, I won't let this break me. I'll use it to grow. If the answer is yes, then you've discovered the greatest power of all, the power over yourself. We've just explored 7 powerful principles to help you reclaim control of your life, not by reacting, but by choosing. And now you understand. Every time you let emotions drive your actions, you're handing over control to the outside world. But when you learn to stay calm, you're not just managing emotions, you're mastering the way you face everything. Real strength doesn't shout. It stands firm in the middle of chaos. True control doesn't mean ruling the world. It means not letting the world rule you. If this video has shifted your mindset, tap that like button. Now, don't let a valuable lesson pass without making it count. Comment below what part spoke to you the most. Have you ever let emotions take the wheel in your life? And most importantly, if you know someone who's struggling to find their balance, send them this video. Help them find the calm that you're now choosing for yourself. And finally, don't forget to subscribe, because this is just the beginning. The journey to mastering your mind and building an unshakable life has only just begun.